Silence is not weakness. In today's dating world, it's one of the strongest moves a man can make. Most guys mess up by talking too much, texting too fast, explaining themselves, and over-communicating just to keep a woman interested. That's a losing game. The more you chase, the more she pulls away. The more you try to fix, the more she watches you fall apart. But the moment you go quiet, that's when everything changes. A man who goes quiet sends a signal she can't ignore. It's not just about stopping the texts or holding back on calls. It's about pulling your energy back, shutting down the validation, and letting her feel the space you've created. That silence, it drives her insane. She starts wondering what's going on in your mind. Why aren't you chasing like every other guy? Why are you suddenly so distant, so hard to reach? That confusion flips a switch in her head. And now you have the power. Going quiet puts you back in control without saying a single word. It creates mystery. It forces her to think, to reflect, and most importantly, to feel your absence. And when a woman starts feeling instead of just thinking, that's when she becomes emotionally invested. This isn't about playing games. It's about using your masculine energy the right way. When you become silent, you make her question everything. She rethinks how she's been treating you. She replays your last conversation. She stalks your social media. That silence echoes louder than any message you could ever send. If you want to reset the power dynamic, build desire, and make her crave your presence, go quiet. Let's break down how it works and why it's the most effective move a man can make. Before we start the video, I want to remind you that my exclusive online course on mastering the dating game is available now. If you've been learning from my YouTube videos, you're only scratching the surface. This course goes deeper, teaching you everything you need to know about the dating game, from approaching a woman to building real attraction. We just finished section 5 in the course, and you won't find this information on videos on my channel. It's easy to access with a secure payment option. Visit stoicapproachtolife.podia.com or click the link in the description to enroll now and improve your dating life. 1. Silence triggers curiosity. When a man goes quiet, he forces a shift in the energy. Most men don't understand this, but women are not wired to chase noise. They chase silence. Noise is predictable. It's the constant texting, checking in, saying good morning every day like clockwork. She sees it coming. She knows you're always available, and deep down, she loses interest because of it. But the moment that noise disappears and you stop pouring out your attention, her mind starts doing something powerful. It starts asking questions. A woman becomes curious when she doesn't know where she stands with you. That curiosity is not light. It turns into mental obsession when handled correctly. It starts with small thoughts. Is he mad at me? Why hasn't he called? Did I say something wrong? Then it grows. She checks your page. She reads into old conversations. She starts paying attention to things she used to ignore, and now she's locked in even if she doesn't want to be. Curiosity is the spark. It gets her out of comfort. Women only grow emotionally attached to what keeps them emotionally unsettled. That doesn't mean you treat her poorly. It means you don't give her the comfort of always knowing what's going on in your head. Silence creates that unknown. It holds back your cards. And when you do that, she starts to notice everything else more. She re-watches your body language in her head. She replays your words. That's how emotional hooks are built. And here's what men need to realize. Curiosity leads to investment. A woman who's trying to figure you out is already thinking about you more than she wants to admit. She may not show it, she may act unbothered, but trust this. When you go quiet, her emotions start to activate, because it's no longer just about you. It's about why you're suddenly quiet. That why is what drives her crazy. Women don't like uncertainty, but they're addicted to it when it comes from a man they can't fully read. That addiction becomes the fuel. She'll look for signs. She'll test you. She'll drop a text just to check if you'll respond the same way you used to. But you won't. You're not being rude, you're being still. You're not reacting. You're making her feel your absence. That's where your power is. You don't have to talk to make her think about you. You just have to disappear at the right moment. The man who speaks less is not weak. He's the man who triggers more thoughts, more feelings, and more desire than the man who never shuts up. Silence makes her chase because it gives her something to figure out. Say less, do less. Watch how much more she feels. 2. She assumes you're moving on. When you go quiet, her mind doesn't just wonder where you are. It starts imagining the worst case scenario. You're done, you've moved on, you don't care anymore. And believe it or not, that thought alone can break her down emotionally. Because here's the truth, most women don't realize what they had until they feel like they've lost it. Silence sends that exact message. It doesn't explain, it doesn't justify, it just vanishes. And that disappearance hits her pride, her ego, and her emotions all at once. She starts thinking you've replaced her. She imagines you giving your attention to someone else, and that thought, it haunts her. She'll never say it out loud, but deep down it eats at her, especially if she's the one who was acting cold, distant, or uninterested before. Women expect men to keep showing up no matter how badly they behave, so when you stop, it shakes her reality. Now she's asking herself questions she never had to before. Was I too distant? Did he get tired of me? Is he entertaining someone else? And even if none of that is true, it doesn't matter. What matters is that the possibility is now living rent-free in her head. She can't shake it. That's the power of silence. It lets her create her own torment. And the best part? You didn't have to say a word. This is how her emotional wall begins to crack. A woman who was once in control of the dynamic now starts feeling unsure. She replays her last few moves. She rethinks the things she said or didn't say, because if you're gone without warning, it means you're capable of living without her. And to a woman who's used to attention, that realization is terrifying. She may not text you right away. She may even post something pretending she's unbothered. But watch closely. Her tone changes. Her energy shifts. She might accidentally like an old photo. She might suddenly reply to a story or send a random check-in. That's not coincidence. That's her testing the waters to see if she still matters. And you'll know she's affected when she does things out of character, things she never did when you were chasing. Understand this. Women don't chase men. They're sure they still have. They chase the ones who've shown they can walk away and not look back. Your silence says more than any long text or argument could. It says, I don't need this anymore. And that's when she realizes she does. Most men fold too soon. They break the silence just to get her reaction. That's weakness. Real strength is in letting her sit with the idea that you're no longer available. When you hold the line and don't rush back in, you flip the script. You're no longer the one seeking attention. You become the one she's afraid to lose. Say nothing. Let her feel the weight of your absence. 3. She becomes emotionally unstable. When you go quiet, you're not just removing your words, you're removing your energy. And that shift causes a reaction inside her that she can't fully control. Emotionally, women are tuned into attention. They rely on it. They read into tone, rhythm, and consistency. When you suddenly stop talking, you disrupt her emotional rhythm. You pull the plug on the signal she's been depending on to feel validated, admired, and in control. That silence creates emotional confusion, and confusion leads to instability. She starts experiencing emotional highs and lows. One minute she's angry, the next she's anxious, and then she feels the need to prove something. It's all because she's no longer sure how you feel, and that uncertainty makes her spiral internally. She may go from not caring at all to checking her phone every hour, hoping to see your name pop up. She might reread old messages, watch your stories on social media multiple times, or talk about you to her friends more than she ever did when you were in contact. And the irony is this: she might have acted like she didn't need you when you were fully available. But the moment you withdrew your presence, she started realizing how dependent she had become on your consistency. That realization doesn't sit well with her. It challenges her ego. It makes her feel out of control, and no woman wants to feel that way, especially not over a man she thought she had figured out. Emotional instability doesn't always show on the outside. She might try to mask it with pride or act unaffected, but the truth is in her behavior. She'll start doing things that seem small but mean a lot. Subtle reaches for your attention, trying to trigger a reaction. She might start dressing differently, posting more, or even pretending she's happy without you, all in hopes that you'll notice and break the silence. What she doesn't understand is that every move she makes out of frustration or desperation only proves how deeply your silence is affecting her. You haven't argued, you haven't insulted her, you haven't begged or pleaded, you just went quiet. And that quiet is hitting her harder than any emotional outburst ever could. This is where most men make a mistake. They break the silence too early because they see signs that she's reacting. But patience is your weapon here. The longer she sits in that unstable emotional space, the more she starts attaching those feelings to you. And that's when she becomes more emotionally invested than ever before. Not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't say. Let her emotions stir. Let her feel that storm. You're not being toxic. You're being disciplined. You're teaching her that your presence is not guaranteed, and that lesson sticks. Once a woman learns that you don't beg, chase, or explain, she starts valuing every moment she once took for granted. 4. She starts competing for your attention. Something powerful happens when a woman no longer feels like she's the center of your world. She starts fighting to get back in that spot, and it doesn't take long. When a man goes quiet, a woman's instincts kick in. Her mind begins to tell her, you're no longer his priority. That message stings more than most men realize. Why? Because even the most independent woman still wants to feel chosen, still wants to feel wanted, and once that feeling fades, it triggers something primal in her: competition. She begins to compete. Not always with other women directly, but with the idea that someone else might now have your focus. It becomes a mental game of, how do I get his attention back? That's when she starts adjusting her behavior. She may become sweeter, more flirtatious, more available. She might start initiating conversations she never used to. And it's not because she suddenly realized how much she loves you. It's because she hates the feeling of being replaced or ignored. This shift is key. You're no longer the one seeking her validation. You've flipped the power dynamic without saying a word. Now she's trying to impress you. She starts checking in on your life. She starts showing signs that she wants to be seen again. Maybe she likes your pictures more often. Maybe she posts things that are clearly aimed at getting your reaction. Or maybe she just drops that casual, "How have you been?" text. That text isn't innocent, it's strategy. She wants to see if you still want her. She wants to know if she still matters. And every little action she takes from that point forward is part of her trying to re-establish control in your world. The more you hold your ground and don't chase, the more pressure builds inside her. And here's the beautiful part. You're no longer proving your worth. She is. Most men never experience this because they never stay quiet long enough. They rush back in the moment she shows the slightest attention. But when you do that, you ruin the tension, you kill the shift, you bring the power right back to her hands. But if you maintain your silence and your discipline, she has no choice but to escalate her efforts. She'll dress better. She'll speak softer. She'll suddenly remember all the things you used to love about her. That's not a coincidence. That's competition. She feels like she's losing you. And losing is not something her pride is built to accept easily. You don't need to play games. You don't need to lie or manipulate. All you need is distance and quiet. Let her feel the absence. Let her wonder. And while she's trying to win you back, you stay grounded in your purpose. Stay focused. Let her come to you, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. Because when she starts competing, it means she's already losing her grip. That's when she starts chasing you, and that's when the game changes. 5. Her ego takes a hit. Women are not used to being ignored by men who once gave them attention. And when that attention disappears without warning, it's not just her emotions that take a hit, it's her ego. That bruised ego can become one of the most powerful forces in making her obsess over your silence. See, when you were always available, always texting, calling, checking in, you were feeding her ego. She could relax knowing that no matter how she acted, you would still be there. That comfort gave her power. But silence? That changes everything. When you go quiet, you remove the mirror she was using to admire herself through your eyes. She no longer hears the compliments. She no longer sees the validation. And suddenly, her confidence isn't so secure. She starts questioning herself, not because you insulted her or brought her down, but because you stopped noticing. And that's a wound most women don't talk about, but they definitely feel it. This is especially true if she was the one acting cold or distant before. If she was used to being pursued, praised, and prioritized, your silence doesn't just confuse her, it offends her. It makes her feel like she's no longer good enough. It forces her to ask, why isn't he running after me? That question alone becomes a storm in her mind, because her ego was built on the idea that she could control your emotions. But now, she sees you can control yours. That's unsettling. The ego hates uncertainty. It hates the idea that someone no longer sees you as valuable. So instead of admitting that she misses you, she reacts in subtle, ego-driven ways. She might post something that seems bold or flirty, but it's not for just anyone, it's aimed at you. She wants to show that she's still desired. She might reach out indirectly, trying to spark a conversation without showing her hand. But behind all of that is one thing: damage control. She's trying to protect her ego from the idea that you've detached. This is why silence is more effective than any argument or emotional explanation. Words give her something to respond to. Silence gives her nothing. And that's what makes her reflect. That's what makes her feel the weight of your absence. You're not just missing from her inbox, you're missing from her world. And every day you stay quiet, that hole gets louder. Here's the truth. A woman's ego craves constant reassurance. When you stop feeding it, she'll either chase that reassurance from someone else, or she'll circle back to you to get it. And if you've handled your silence the right way, calm, firm, and unapologetic, she'll see you differently. Not as the man who begged, but as the man who knew his worth. Let her ego take the hit. Let her wrestle with the silence. That's when she'll start thinking about you non-stop. Not because you pushed for her attention, but because you pulled it away without fear. 6. She questions her value. The moment you go quiet, she no longer sees herself through your admiration. You stop giving her praise. You stop checking in. You stop reacting. And without all that energy coming from you, she begins to feel uncertain, not just about you, but about herself. That's when something deep happens. She starts questioning her value. Understand this clearly. Women get attention easily in today's world. Likes, comments, DMs, compliments. It's constant. But there's a big difference between shallow attention from strangers and meaningful attention from a man she actually wants. When you were giving her that consistent attention, she felt chosen. She felt elevated. Even if she pretended not to care, your presence was reassuring. You were that silent confirmation that she was still desired by the kind of man she actually respected. Now that you've gone quiet, all of that has been taken from her. And it's not just the attention she misses, it's the status that came with it. She was your girl, your priority, your queen. But now you've removed the crown and walked away. That hurts. It cuts right through the image she had of herself in your life. If she thought she was irreplaceable, your silence proves otherwise. If she thought she could play games and still win, your absence breaks that illusion. This is the part where her confidence starts to crack. She begins wondering, was I not enough? Did I lose my grip? Is he seeing someone better? These questions haunt her because they weren't even on her radar when you were present. Your silence creates that internal storm. And the longer you stay silent, the more those questions grow into doubts. Not just about your relationship, but about her identity as a woman who was once desired by you. She might pretend she's fine. She'll laugh louder on social media. She'll post pictures that scream, "I'm unbothered." But underneath all of that noise is insecurity. That voice in her head asking why the man who once gave her his time now gives her nothing. It's a question she can't answer, and that's what drives her crazy. You see, it's not just about getting her attention back. It's about reminding her that your energy is not free, that your validation is not on demand. When you go quiet, you force her to sit with herself. And sometimes that silence is louder than anything you could ever say. Because in that space, she's no longer confident. She's no longer in control. She's no longer sure of her place in your life. That's when the tables turn. When she starts doubting her worth in your eyes, she'll do whatever it takes to get that worth back. She'll reach out. She'll open up. She'll try harder. And it's not because you pressured her. It's because your silence exposed her insecurity. This is why staying quiet works. It puts the mirror in front of her and makes her ask the one question that changes everything. What if I already lost him? 7. She becomes emotionally addicted. When a man pulls back his energy, he doesn't just leave silence behind, he leaves a void that a woman can't easily fill. That silence becomes a space filled with uncertainty, curiosity, frustration, and a growing emotional hunger. And over time, that hunger turns into obsession. She doesn't just want you back, she starts to need you back. She becomes emotionally addicted to the feeling of trying to figure you out, to chase the validation that your silence once took away. Emotional addiction doesn't start when a woman is comfortable. It starts when she feels a mix of confusion and anticipation. It's that emotional roller coaster. 1 minute wondering why you're quiet, the next minute imagining you with someone else, and then doubting herself completely. That cycle, repeated in her mind every day, becomes a habit. And what is a habit built on emotion? An addiction. She keeps checking her phone, hoping you'll break the silence. She replays your last conversation over and over, looking for clues. She remembers the things you used to say, how consistent you were, and wonders what went wrong. The silence forces her to relive those moments with emotional intensity. And that emotional intensity is what forms attachment. You didn't yell, you didn't beg, you didn't try to fix anything. You just disappeared. And now she's left to fill in the blanks. That uncertainty keeps her emotionally glued to you. That's the secret. It's not that she wants you back because you proved your point. It's that your absence becomes something she thinks about constantly. And eventually, that thinking becomes craving. That craving becomes emotional dependence. And emotional dependence? That's power. This isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding the psychology of silence. When a woman is sure she has you, she can afford to relax. She doesn't need to think too much. But when you pull away, when you stop talking, stop explaining, stop chasing, she begins to feel like she's losing something valuable. And the mind reacts the same way it does to withdrawal from a drug. The brain wants to restore the emotional high it once got from your attention. So she keeps coming back mentally. She keeps checking for signs. She becomes emotionally hooked. And here's the real kicker. The more she realizes she can't control your response, the deeper the addiction grows. It's not about whether she still likes you. It's about the fact that she can't predict you anymore. She can't figure you out. You've become a puzzle that she needs to solve just to feel okay again. That's the exact opposite of how things used to be when you were trying to win her over. Now she's emotionally invested. She's thinking about you while she's with other people. She's comparing other men to you. She's wondering if she should have done things differently, all because you gave her nothing to fight against, just silence. And silence, when used right, is the most addictive drug you can offer. The moment you go quiet, everything shifts. You stop chasing, and she starts feeling the absence. You stop explaining, and she begins questioning herself. Your silence becomes louder than words, stronger than arguments, and more powerful than begging. It forces her to sit with her own thoughts. And that's where the real change begins. The game flips. The balance of power returns to you, not because you forced it, but because you removed what she took for granted. Sometimes the strongest move a man can make is no move at all. When you go quiet, she starts losing her mind. And remember, If you're serious about mastering the dating game, don't miss out on my exclusive online course. We go beyond what's covered in these videos, giving you powerful insights from the first approach to lasting attraction. It's easy to enroll with a secure payment option. Visit stoicapproachtolife.podia.com or simply click the link in the description to secure your spot. Don't wait until it's too late. Take action now and start transforming your dating life today. I want to especially appreciate you for taking your time to watch till the end of this video. I hope the video helps you improve every aspect of your relationship with women. Until next time, this is Stoic Approach to Life.